billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers, and welcome back to Women's View on Ahlulbayt TV. Now, before the break, we're talking about the importance of gaining knowledge in Islam. And as we said, the acquisition of gaining knowledge is incumbent upon every Muslim, and we stressed upon the importance of knowledge through the sayings of the Prophet and the Ahlulbayt. Now, we were answering a few of your questions before the break, such as in terms of motherhood, how can you inject knowledge within your children? And now we were just in the middle of answering one of our viewers' questions. So inshallah, we'll get back to that discussion. I'd just like to remind you all, this is a live call-in show, so if you would like to call in with your views or opinions, then please do call in with the number on the screen. We would love to hear from you. Alternatively, you can email us at womensview@Ahlulbayt TV. That's womensview@ahlulbayt.tv. Now, inshallah, some of your messages which has come through during the show should be shown at the bottom of the screen, inshallah, so you can read that in and out the show, inshallah. So let's get straight back to our topic. I'm your host, Zahra Al-Alawi, and today with me is Salma, Jaffer. Assalamu alaikum. Now, before the break, we had a very interesting discussion, and we were answering one of the sisters' questions, which said, how can a mother inject Islamic knowledge on children that are adamant on not even abiding by the simple Islamic rules? So we were answering some of those, her question. Now, she had two other questions as well. Like you said, I mean, you mentioned a lot of tips before the break in terms of how to inject that Islamic knowledge. But in a sense, I just wanted to say from my experience from sometimes communicating with the youth, and also being a person that grew up in the West and was born in the West and, you know, was raised in the West, I feel like many times that when youth or children complain about not adhering by the rules of Islam or the basic rules by Islam, they say that it was forcefully brought upon us. And I think the methods of teaching Islam to children the methods have changed, where the older generation probably, if someone said you have to do this, God said you have to do this, you know, they listen to them, or they listen to their parents because it was a stronger authority or greater authority telling them to do so. But in this day and age, we usually find children, especially in the West, that they say, if you tell them, you know, God said do this, or God said wear the hijab, or God said this, they say, why do we have to do it? What's the benefits of doing it? They question a lot. And I feel that parents need to give children answers in terms to their questions. They need to constantly answer their questions. And this is just something I've dealt with youth. And also that if you say to a child, this is haram, in terms of many parents may tell their kids it's haram to listen to music, or it's haram to wear strong like makeup, or it's haram to do this, it's haram to form relationships with the opposite gender. I feel like in terms of if you take something away from someone, you need to give them an alternative. So and you know, many times if you say music is haram, you need to give them some sort of alternative that will distract them away from that haram act. And you know, just that's the simple things that I've realised as well. But I think it's the generation gap between the parents and the children. Then that generation gap needs to be brought closer, and parents need to understand children, and children need to understand parents. But inshallah, we'll talk about it more in detail. There's another question that she directed, so inshallah you'll be able to answer that in more details. She said, is there a time when mothers have to decrease their teachings on such kids and pray to Allah that kids come back and stay on the right path? Now, you know, should parents get to a stage where they say, you know, I've done my job, that's it, may Allah guide them? Should it get to that stage?
No, not really, because if that was the case, then if we look at the imams, if we look at our imams and the Ahlulbayt, you know, they would have stepped back and they would have said, well, you know what, we did our job, you know, we did enough, we're tired now, so God will, you know, do what He can do. And that's it. You know, Imam Hussain would have done that. You know, he would have put everything into God, saying that God's going to sort all the problems out. I'm just going to, you know, do my own thing now. But he gave his life for the truth, you know. And from this, we can, you know, we can come up with the answer that, you know, we should never step back. We should always do what we can until the very last moment. And yes, there will be those who will never, ever understand, and those who will never even try and understand or even come to the right path. And there's you just trying to do everything you can and giving everything you have, but they just won't listen. They won't listen. But at the end of the day, you need to understand that you did your thing and God will give you the blessings for it. You know, you're building yourself a house in Jannat
Definitely.
for what you're doing for your kids, knowing that they're your kids. So no, parents should not step back. They should do what the imams did. You know, carry on, carry on, carry on, and they will get something in return. And inshallah, we shall have kids who, you know, do realize one day and come to the right path.
Definitely, inshallah. I think that was a great question. We have some more questions as well from the sister, but we just had an email come through, so let's address that, inshallah. So, Assalamu alaikum, great show. Thank you for all the efforts. I would like to make a comment that many women stay at home as housewives and say they don't have time to gain knowledge, and they leave that responsibility upon men. Many people that are mothers or wives say that they don't have time as they have house duties and children to look after. I am such that is guilty of this. What advice would you give? Now, it's a very interesting one because we're both married and we're both housewives ourselves, and we're both people that have responsibilities. And you know, we are housewives and married women. So, you know, I've heard many women say this as well. So, first of all, thank you, sister, for emailing in. And what would you say regarding this?
Well, to be very nice, there is always a way. There's always a way, and I can understand how busy life can be, and it is very busy. But you can never make life so busy for yourself that you say that, you know, I can't educate myself, because that, like we started in the very beginning, you know, it's obligatory for every Muslims. You know, there's always a way. Whilst working and doing all the chores and everything in the within the household, you can always listen to something in the background. You know, rather than having a TV switched on and listening to things that doesn't benefit you, which relates to the brother's question before. We could, you know, there are so many lectures online. You know, whilst doing work, we can listen to the lectures. You know, rather than things that's not going to benefit us. That's educating yourself. You know, there's like so many lectures. Every lectures that take place, everything is being recorded and everything is in the computer. You know, so why not download all the lectures? It doesn't even take long, and listen to the lectures whilst doing the chores and, you know, whilst being a housewife. That's one of the best ways you can. There's always a way. You know, this is the 21st century. Things have changed a lot and things are improving a lot too. So I don't see any excuses. And plus the Ahlulbayt TV, you know, you don't have to listen to the lectures. You can just listen to Ahlulbayt TV in the background whilst doing the work and everything within the household. That's educating yourself.
That's definitely true. Like you said, I mean, media has developed, so
it has.
Now that many people don't have an excuse to not gain knowledge, because even like you said, you can download lectures from the internet. There's many websites and many lecturers that have their own websites as well with all the lectures posted on. And in terms of now, you know, in the olden days, I was speaking to a researcher and they was telling me in the olden days we had to go through books, we had to go to the library, we used to come home with this much books just to find the narration that we wanted. So now your generation, you can write one thing on a Google, press search, and all the search engines will come up. But like you said, now no one really has an excuse. Many of us are married and many of us do have husbands and many of us do have children and have commitments as well. But, you know, this is something that we're going to be accounted for in the Day of Judgment. You know, did you gain knowledge? You know, how hard did you try to spread Islam or to gain knowledge? So it's really a responsibility upon us. So I find listening to lectures is very, very useful. You know, while you're doing the ironing or the washing or anything, you can just put a lecture in the background and suddenly you gain knowledge. And many people think, I believe that it's not in the sense of doing hard, you know, research or intensive research. I mean, if you're unsure about an issue within Islam or a ruling within Islam, you can do research upon that to better your understanding. So, inshallah, I hope the sister, you know, that answered the sister's question. Inshallah, I know more emails are coming through, but I think there's some technical difficulties there. Once they come through, inshallah, I'll read them out. But now going on, I mean, leading on from what the sister said, and I also wanted to ask you this, is what is the different methods of gaining knowledge? Some people may say, you know, what kind of tips would you give? I know comments have been posted up regarding converts that have just converted to Islam. I think a woman emailed in and said, you know, I'm a convert, I just entered Islam, and, you know, there's you know, and I want to gain knowledge, but what are the methods? I mean, is there any tips or any advice you would give for our audience?
The advice that I could give is the books. There are so many books out there that you could read. There are so many centers out there that hold regular functions, you know, the commemorations and the celebrations, as well as other functions. And there's the media, you know. There are, you know, like we just mentioned, the lectures are all online. And these are all the ways where you can, you know, find the correct sources for yourself. If you're not into reading books, then go to the media. If you're into the media, if you're not into the media, go into the books. So it's whatever suits you the best. You go according to it, and just you know, gain knowledge from these sources.
Definitely true. I mean,
Or even, you know, you could speak to people. You could speak to, you know, approach the most knowledgeable scholars, approach lecturers, knowledgeable lecturers, and see what they have to say, and get knowledge from them.
Definitely true. I mean, like you said, I mean, there's different methods of gaining knowledge, but at the same time, for those that are just entering, I think, you know, I just wanted to say is that those who are just entering, you know, the field of education or the field of knowledge or Islamic knowledge, you have to be very careful, especially with the internet, because now anyone can create a website and anyone can post comments up, and I feel like now that people have to filter the information they get, because you get many fabricated narrations and many incorrect information posted up, so individuals need to be more careful when doing their research. But like you said, now there's so many methods of gaining knowledge. I don't think anyone really has an excuse, whether you're a woman or a man or housewife or a mother. I mean, anyone can gain some sort of knowledge, so it's a really responsibility upon us. But, you know, many people may argue, they say, what's the point of gaining knowledge? You know, we know our basics, we know the basic rulings of Islam, we know what we need to do, we have the principles, we have basic jurisprudential issues, you know, we know regard jurisprudential issues, and they say, you know, we know the basics, so what's the point of gaining more knowledge? So in terms of what can ignorance or that sort of attitude lead to?
Well, that's obviously not a very good attitude, because if we look at this in this day and age, we have so many Muslims, different sections of Muslims, you know, and being a Muslim, we know our 5 pillars, we know the obligatory actions that we have to do, we know the basics, you know. We need to know more than the basics. You can't call yourself a Shia Muslim by just doing the wajib or the obligatory actions. You know, you have to do the mustahabats as well. You know, you have to sort of go over the, you know, when you go into eating, right? You get the normal dish or whatever, and obviously you would spice it up. You would put some kind of a chili. You would you know, add sauces and God knows what, pepper, salad, etc. That way you enjoy it more than just having something raw. You know, it's the same thing. It's relating same as to the religion as well. By saying that you're doing all the 5 obligatories, you know, the 5 wajib namaz and fasting and all the other things, you know, that's it, we're Muslims. No, we have to do more than that. Show them that, you know, we are good Muslims, and we are more than what people think we are. You know, and by being ignorant, it's only what it does is it creates corruptness in the world. And obviously we have been told that there will be a time where there will be a lot of ignorance in the world, because good is always a difficulty aspect of life. You know, there will be a lot of ignorance in the world, there will be a lot of hypocrisy in the world, to an extent where evil will be seen as a good thing and good will be seen as evil, and it's a fact. And that's why, you know, we wait for the reappearance of the 12th Imam. You know, but things will be bad. You know, no one will see good as a good thing. Everyone will see good as evil. No one will listen to the truth. You know, the truth will be seen as an evil. Definitely. So it's sad, but we as true Muslims have to try and stop this. We have to try and do whatever we can, put our foot down and do the right thing. You know, just like I said, we spice everything for ourselves, for everything, you know, in relation to everything else. But when it comes to religion, we keep to the basic. That's not right. That's you know, true. Rather than spicing other things, which is just the, you know, like the food, it's for us to live, you know, but we make it like something that we enjoy in life, you know. We should consider spicing the religion more, you know, because that is going to help us in the hereafter, not the food. That's the food just helped us to live for as long as we can. but it's religion that's going to help us a lot.
Yes, true.
So we have to think about that, you know, and we have to try and stop the ignorance. We have to try and stop the corruptness. And you know, we see so much ignorance going on right in this day and age. You know, people start fighting with you, and you know, the one little good thing you say to them, and they say like, "What did you just come up with?" You know, a lot of wrong. So we just have to be patient. These are the qualities and the personality of the Imams, to be patient and to continue spreading the right religion and the truth. And it will be a difficult, because it was difficult for them. I mean, Imam Hussain gave his life, and that's a big difficulty. And we shed tears for him. So it's never going to be easy.
That's true. I mean, that sometimes, like you said, that many people may know the basics, the place of Islam, how to pray, how to fast, basic rulings within Islam, you know, basic hadiths. But at the same time, I feel like, especially in this day and age, we need to know more than the basics, because, you know, especially as women wearing hijab, people come up to us and say, even Muslims, I mean, I've had a Muslim woman say to me, it doesn't say in the Quran that you have to wear hijab. We get emails and constantly to Women's View saying, where does it say in the Quran that you have to wear hijab? Where does it say this? And many people do question aspects of religion now, so many people need to know the references to what they believe in. And I feel like many people need, they have to know how to defend their religion, because you have to know the logics behind what you're doing. So
exactly,
in terms of people need to know the references.
You need to know the answers to the questions that people would ask you. If you don't know the answers, then you've just proved them that, you know, you're doing things blindly. You're just doing something that you've been told to do without knowing the reasons to why you do it. And you're just showing them that you're basically making a fool of yourself. Definitely. You know, and in order to stop that, you need to be educated. You need to have this idea that, you know, I need to go and learn, I need to educate myself. So if anyone comes up to me, asks me anything, I am able to answer the question to an extent where they would actually ponder and say, actually makes sense. You know, so we have to think in that extent.
That's true. I mean, that's definitely true. We're approaching the end. I know we want to speak roughly about the hijab campaign as well, but I had just one last question for you, you know, just to end off the show. And it's in terms of how did knowledge, as we said, that the characters or the individuals that were present in the Battle of Karbala, you know, Imam Hussain and his companions and his family and his household, you know, they were individuals that, you know, acquired knowledge, and they had, you know, high levels of knowledge as well. So in terms of how did knowledge make Imam Hussein's message victorious?
Well, the dialogues they had within each other and between each other, and the dialogues they had between the opposed parties as well. You know, they referred to the Holy Quran, they referred to the verses of the Holy Quran before they spoke about anything. So clearly from that, we know that they had memorized the Quran, they had memorized the verses, you know, and they never showed any aggression, they never showed any anger, and they were always patient. You know, they would feel sorrow within themselves, but then they were always patient, and they would refer to the verses of the Holy Quran when it came to anything. You know, otherwise they would have been out there fighting the opposed party, you know, showing so much aggression, you know, the way they would have conducted themselves verbally, you know, and physically. That would have all, you know, we would have seen all that, and we would have been like, you know, well, you know, there's quite a lot of friction, they're quite angry, but then they would never, because they're the Ahlulbayt, how can they be angry? You know, how can they not be patient, and how can they be so aggressive? And we never saw these qualities anyway, you know, let alone imagining them, but they never showed these qualities, and they conducted themselves very nicely, and therefore we see them as our role models, you know. And from all this we see that, you know, this is how we're meant to be. You know, they had the knowledge of everything, and therefore they implemented it in their lives. You know, and we need to do the same, but in fact what we do is we do the complete opposite. We have the knowledge, and sometimes we just go, you know, crazy, and we shouldn't. You know, we should do just what they did, to implement in our lives, and to you know, follow their personality.
That's definitely true. I mean, like you said, the way, if anyone reads the sermon, Lady Zainab, the sermon of Kulthum, the sermon of Imam Zain al-Abidin, the sermon of Fatima, the daughter of Imam Hussain, or the sermon of any of the individuals of the Ahlulbayt, you see that the way they spoke just proved that they had so much knowledge. They referred to the Quran, the way they conducted themselves. Like you said, you know, that's what made the message victorious. So beautifully answered. We just have a few more minutes left, so inshallah we have so much more to discuss, and we have people's emails, but unfortunately we're running out of time. So let's move on to the hijab awareness campaign, and we'll roughly speak about that. Like I mentioned in my previous show, we are launching a global hijab awareness campaign, inshallah. This will launch after Safar and will go on until the birth of Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. Now, it's a campaign to spread the awareness of why we wear hijab, to promote the reasoning behind why we wear hijab, to better the understanding of why we wear the hijab amongst Muslims and non-Muslims alike. And inshallah, you know, due to the huge amount of emails we receive regarding hijab, it seems that majority of our emails are dominated with questions regarding hijab. So inshallah, you know, we will answer. Inshallah, we will launch that very soon. But we just have a phone call on the line, so we have a few more minutes. I know we wanted to move on to the hijab campaign, but we have a call on the line. So it's best to take that call, inshallah, then go back, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum, sister. Thank you very much for the topic we're discussing today. It's a very interesting show.
Thank you very much.
I have a question on your subject today, which is education. I'd like to know, you know, there's so many things that are interesting out there, especially for us women to pursue. You see things online and courses. But how do we, you know, we have small children and we've got so many activities, and how do you prioritize in terms of how you are able to, at the same time, continue, as you've said, education is so important, but then also cope with other duties we have day to day?
Definitely true. Thank you so much. That's actually very interesting question, so thank you very much for calling in.
Thank you.
You know, it's a very interesting question. It was like the query that the other sister mentioned as well. I think many women feel that once we get married and we have children, we have such a huge responsibilities in terms of our household. But how do we do the rest? How do we gain knowledge? How do we spread knowledge? How do we become active within our community? You know, we don't have much time, but how would you answer that?
Well, the advice that I would probably give is, you know, always try and fit things in a specific way on how you're living your life. So if a mother was to go to work, you know, doing part-time job or something, she would then go and, you know, drop her kids to some kind of an activity, you know, wherever they're into, or classes or anything. So, you know, fit the daily life in such a way that it goes according to you. So there is no clash. There is no, so the kids cannot turn around and say, well, we don't have much time from our mothers, and, you know, we have no quality time together. Always, you know, put things in a specific way where, you know, the mothers are happy, the children are happy, and everything flows in a nice system.
Definitely true.
Always fit in, you know, like a puzzle sort of thing. So if the mother was to you know, work during the weekends, then to make sure that, you know, the kids go somewhere on the weekends and get some kind of a benefit out of that, whether it be sport or a madrasa or something. But when the mother is home, then to make sure that the kids are home too, so that they get the time with each other. So it's always putting things in a right way, and making sure that they don't you know, have any clash with anything that they do.
Definitely true. I mean, I'm just getting people's emails now. Unfortunately, I think there was a delay. This is an email from Zahra. So, inshallah, you know, due to lack of time, I can't read it today. But I will read your email out on Thursday, inshallah, and answer it. So, do apologies for the slight delay. We have other emails coming through, but we'll have to answer it in other shows, in our other shows, inshallah. But like you said, I mean, as mothers, I know we don't have much time, but like you said, it's, I think, fitting everything around the responsibilities we have at home, in terms of if we have children or if we have to do housework, you know, and I think also being, you know, well organized, you know, do the housework, make sure the food's cooked or the house is clean or your husband's shirts are ironed or whatever responsibilities you have, and then in a sense you can fit all your other activities and, you know, gaining knowledge or your activities outside, or you know, if you do lectures, if you do shows, if you're active within the mosque, then you can fit it all around that. And many people have done it before, so I'm sure we can all do it, and we can all, inshallah, become active and gain knowledge. So belief is within ourselves. So do you have any last comments? I know we're ending it.
No, I think That's fine.
But thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a lovely discussion. Inshallah, we do have you on soon, inshallah.
My
if
pleasure.
you accept. Thank you very much. We are approaching the end of the show. Unfortunately, we had no time to speak about our global hijab awareness campaign, which is very unfortunate. But inshallah, I will discuss it and we'll speak more about it on Thursday, inshallah. The emails, I think there was some technical difficulties and we did receive emails late. So all those that have emailed us in today, inshallah, we'll address it on Thursday and we'll read out your emails then. Just on a final note, I believe that all women can become key figures within our community. We can become individuals who gain knowledge and have knowledge. The belief is within ourselves and we can organise our duties at home. Obviously, we all have duties and housework, and I'm sure that this is what our priority, our housework and our duties at home and our duties towards our children and our husbands. This is our priority, but I really believe that we can fit in all the rest and be key figures of religion, inshallah, and spread Islam. And inshallah, we are one of the 52 that are, of Imam al-Mahdi, that are the commanders of Imam al-Mahdi. Inshallah, we do pray that. And may Allah hasten the reappearance of our Imam, inshallah. On the final note, I hope you enjoyed today's topic on gaining knowledge in Islam in light of Imam Hussain. Unfortunately, we couldn't discuss everything we wanted to. On a final note, if you want to know more about our hijab awareness campaign, if you have any questions, if you want to participate in any way you can, no matter where you are around the world, then the email should be at the bottom of the screen, inshallah. You can email us on hijabawareness@ahlulbayt.tv. This is a big hijab campaign which will launch very soon, inshallah. It needs the participation of every woman around the world. If you believe in the cause of hijab and you believe in the cause of the cause of Allah and the cause of hijab, then please do get in touch and let's all get together and make this a success, inshallah. More details will be posted. I know some of you have already emailed us, so we will reply back to all your emails very soon, inshallah. Unfortunately, we haven't had the time to email. So please do get in touch and we would love to see your participation in this cause, inshallah. Now we're approaching the end of the show. Please do join me on Thursday with Sister Zain Bisham, inshallah. We'll be discussing a new topic. I hope you enjoyed today. And if you have any comments on today's show or any of our future shows, then please do email us at womensview@ahlulbayt.tv. That's all for today. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To form relationships with the opposite gender, I feel like in terms of if you take something away from someone, you need to give them an alternative. So, many times if you say music is haram, you need to give them some sort of alternative that will distract them away from that haram act. And just that's the simple things that I've realised as well. But I think it's the generation gap between the parents and the children. Then that generation gap needs to be brought closer. And parents need to understand children, and children need to understand parents. But inshallah, we'll talk about it more in detail. There's another question that she directed, so inshallah, you'll be able to answer that in more details. She said, is there a time when mothers have to decrease their teachings on such kids and pray to Allah that kids come back and stay on the right path? Now, should parents get to a stage where they say, I've done my job, that's it. May Allah guide them. Should it get to that stage?
No. Not really, because if that was the case, then if we look at the imams, if we look at our imams and the Ahlulbayt, they would have stepped back and they would have said, well, you know what, we did our job, we did enough, we're tired now, so God will, do what He can do. And that's it. Imam Hussain would have done that. He would have put everything into God, saying that God's going to sort all the problems out. I'm just going to, do my own thing now. But he gave his life for the truth, And from this, we can come up with the answer that, we should never step back. We should always do what we can until the very last moment. And yes, there will be those who will never, ever understand, and those who will never even try and understand or even come to the right path. And there's you just trying to do everything you can and giving everything you have, but they just won't listen. They won't listen. But at the end of the day, you need to understand that you did your thing and God will give you the blessings for it. You're building yourself a house in Jannat. For what?
Not adhering by the rules of Islam or the basic rules by Islam. They say that it was forcefully brought upon us. And I think the methods of teaching Islam to children has the methods have changed, where the older generation probably, if someone said you have to do this, God said you have to do this, you know, they listened to them, or they listened to their parents because it was a stronger authority or greater authority telling them to do so. But in this day and age, we usually find children, especially in the West, that they say, if you tell them, you know, God said do this, or God said wear the hijab, or God said this, they say, why do we have to do it? What's the benefits of doing it? They question a lot. And I feel that parents need to give children answers in terms to their questions. They need to constantly answer their questions. And this is just something I've dealt with youth. And also that if you say to a child, this is haram, in terms of many parents may tell their kids it's haram to listen to music, or it's haram to wear strong makeup, or it's haram to do this, it's haram to. I'm at Ahlulbayt TV. That's Women's View at ahlulbayt.tv. Now, inshallah, some of your messages which has come through during the show should be shown at the bottom of the screen, inshallah, so you can read that in and out the show, inshallah. So let's get straight back to our topic. I'm your host, Zahra Al-Alawi, and today with me is Salma, Jaffer. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Now, before the break, we had a very interesting discussion, and we were answering one of the sisters' questions, which said, how can a mother inject Islamic knowledge on children that are adamant on not even abiding by the simple Islamic rules? So we were answering some of those, her question. Now, she had two other questions as well. Like you said, I mean, you mentioned a lot of tips before the break in terms of how to inject that Islamic knowledge. But in the sense that I just wanted to say, from my experience from sometimes communicating with the youth, and also being a person that grew up in the West and was born in the West and, you know, was raised in the West, I feel like many times that when youth or children complain about not A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers, and welcome back to Women's View on Ahlulbayt TV. Now, before the break, we're talking about the importance of gaining knowledge in Islam. And as we said, the acquisition of gaining knowledge is incumbent upon every Muslim, and we stressed upon the importance of knowledge through the sayings of the Prophet and the Ahlulbayt. Now, we were answering a few of your questions before the break, such as in terms of motherhood, how can you inject knowledge within your children? And now we were just in the middle of answering one of our viewers' questions. So inshallah, we'll get back to that discussion. I'd just like to remind you all, this is a live call-in show, so if you would like to call in with your views or opinions, then please do call in with the number on the screen. We would love to hear from you. Alternatively, you can email us at